Welcome back to the Lord's channel, family. I pray all is well. Pray everyone is having a blessed morning in the Lord. But I just want to come on very quickly, family, and share a message that the Lord was downloading into my spirit on yesterday. And I kind of felt led to come on yesterday, but I just kind of waited, to allow the Lord to continue speaking to me what it was He wanted for me to say in this particular message. But family, on yesterday, all I could hear in my spirit was count it all joy. Count all of it as nothing but pure joy. And as I was hearing that down in my spirit, I continued on throughout the day. And what the Lord began to remind me of, family, was the idea of when we come and when we pray to Him, about various things. What the Lord began to remind me of, family, was we don't know when, where, and how that very prayer is going to be answered. All that we must do, family, in praying to Him is to already know in our minds and in our hearts that that very prayer has already been answered. That is the only thing that is required of us to do when we are going to the Lord, in prayer. So the Lord led me over to James 1, verses 2 and 3 to remind me of the foundation of what it looks like when we're counted all as, just joy. As when we're beginning to count all of it as joy, this is what the foundation of what that is going to look like. So very quickly, family, let's go over to James 1, and I'm going to read verses 2 and 3 so with that we can get this down into our spirits, and so we can further know what it is the Lord is trying to highlight to us and bring to our attentions. So James chapter 1, verses 2 and 3 reads, "My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience." And that is where the Lord grabbed me at. He grabbed me at the idea of patience. And He began to work on me with that very meaning of patience. And, we always say this quote, patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. And, in saying that, family, what the Lord began to, remind me of as well was how we have to allow our faith to be built. Meaning that if we never get a chance to actually experience and see His hand move in anything, that our faith would never grow. We would never be in a position where our faith is being strengthened. So in saying that, family, in the idea of how the Lord has to be able to move in our situations, we have to go through situations in order for Him to move in them. So that goes right back to what He was highlighting and bringing to my attention as well when He was speaking on the idea of we don't know when, we don't know where, and we don't know how that prayers are going to be answered. The action part of the prayer, family, is on the Lord. He is in control of how, when, and where He moves on that particular prayer. And what I also began to hear in my spirit on yesterday was how, when we go to the Lord and we may pray for His divine protection over something, when we're praying for His divine protection, whether it be over us or whether it's over our family's lives or whomever, we go and we ask the Lord for His divine protection. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our whole lives, take a whole 360. Everything just turned upside down in our lives. things are not looking the way that we think that they should look. Things are not going the way that we think that they should go. And we begin to get in our feelings about it, and begin to go back and question God. Why this, God? Why that, God? Why this? But what the Lord was allowing me to know, family, we have to take ourselves back to what it was that we prayed and asked him for. And, even in the idea of just divine protection, family, when we pray and we ask the Lord for divine protection, you know what the Lord reminded me of in that very prayer that we pray to him? The Lord was reminding me of the idea of how if it had not been for him, if it had not been for his divine cutting, that we would have never seen the snakes. We would never have seen not one of the very snakes that were getting ready to bite us directly in the face. If he had not did the divine cutting that needed to be done in that particular situation. So family, our ways are not the Lord's ways. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. So the Lord heard what we didn't hear. The Lord saw what we didn't see. So right back to that idea of count it all joy, family. We must begin to count each and everything in our lives as nothing but pure joy. Because when it's all said and done, family, the Lord is going to get his glory out of the situation. He is going to get his glory out of it. It's not for us to feel good or for us to be feeling some type of way of what's coming out of what's happening to us, but it all is for the glory of God. It's for his glory. So we can't all just applaud and cheer on the good things that are happening in our lives. We got to applaud and cheer on the not so good, the bad, and the ugly things in our lives. Because one thing about it, family, we don't know what it is that the Lord is keeping us from, what the Lord is saving us from, what the Lord is protecting us from. All that we must do, family, is to count it all as nothing but pure joy. And, family, I could feel differently in the idea of even saying that after the Lord was finished in ministering to me in it. Because it's so very quickly to allow our flesh to get in the midst of a situation when something's happening and to overtake us in it and to allow us to be in that, oh, woe me mentality about what is happening. But what the Lord is saying, family, and reminding us of, it's all just a setup for a comeback. It had to happen. We had to go through it. We had to experience it. Because just right back to James 2 and 3 in chapter 1, it's all building that foundation for our patience. Our patience have to have a foundation to rest on. In order for our faith to be built, we have to experience things that are going to build our patience as well. Just as our faith is growing in the Lord, our patience have to be built in the Lord as well. So the idea of patience being a virtue, family, it is. It is. Because when we're in a rush and when we're impatient, those are fleshly moves. Those are fleshly motives that further get us in trouble, So anytime we're being rushed and pushed into something very hurriedly and very quickly, always take the time out to hold ourselves and stop. And to go to the Lord and confess whatever it is, decision we're needing to make or whatever it is that we're needing to do. Let's start going to the Lord with that. Not rushing ourselves into something because we're being pushed by our flesh and being impatient in that situation. So family, That is what the Lord began to minister to me on yesterday. And I'm going to repeat it again for the ones in the back. What the Lord was reminding us of, family, was had he not done his divine cutting, we would have never, family, saw the snakes. Because the cutting that we would have, could have, and should have done, we still wouldn't have never seen the snakes. But when the Lord does his divine cutting, that very perfect divine cutting that he does, every snake will be exposed. And I think the other day I even came and I spoke on the idea of idols. How idols are getting ready to fall, how they are getting ready to be exposed, and how this is going to be the very year of authenticity. How this is going to be where the year where the only things that are going to stand are the very things that are real and the very things that are genuine. That was the other thing that the Lord reminded me of. So family, all of it ties right in together. Right in together. So the takeaway from this, family, is that we must count it all joy. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Because what it's doing, family, is setting us up for a major comeback. And that major comeback is the Lord. And the Lord getting his very glory out of each and every situation and getting the glory out of everything that takes place in our lives. But as always, family, I pray that this message reaches in whom it was intended to reach. And I pray that it blesses in whom it was intended to bless. But until next time, family, I love you. Be blessed.